Beware that Africa is contagious. Once you love it,
Yeah.
you can't stop loving it, because if you get in touch with the people on the ground, they are so kind, they're so hospitable, you will not stop going. So a true unsung hero, one person at a time. Phenomenal young man. My name is Gideon Fomokwai, the story warrior. If there is an African story that has not been told, we want to tell it. If there's one African who is doing exceptional work, we want to bring them here and help share or amplify their voice. Today, we are so lucky to have Mr. Desmond Alufohai of Miami International Airport, not representing the airport per se in this capacity, but talking about his role in shaping global African diaspora, the role that he plays as an expert in trade representation, in trade problems between Africa and the West. We are so happy because there are untold stories in the area of trade, in the area of tourism, that he can explain and unpack in ways that no other person can. If you're joining for the first time, my name is Gideon Fomokwai, the story warrior. It's my privilege to have Mr. Desmond today because he is one of the rare and the busiest, but very kind and very gentle and always very approachable. Thank you so much, Mr. Alufohai. Good morning, or can I say bon après-midi or bonjour? Or I know you're a multilinguistic professional, so.
Bonjour, mon frère. Thank you so much, my brother. I know that we've been trying to make this happen for a long time. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate you, because when a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, well, nobody knows. But you are making sure that each and every one of us in the world hear about the tree that falls in that forest. Without storytellers like you, that is helping us to change the narrative of the true essence of Africa, then those perceptions that they have of Africa, as you know, I'm a big proponent of ensuring that the right information and folks are educated about what Africa is all about, not the garbage that is perpetrated again and again in the media. So I really thank you for the work that you do to make sure that people know about the continent and get the right information. And so I'm just so blessed and honored to be able to make your show.
Thank you so much. The privilege is really ours. And I am grateful that we met during the inaugural Global African Summit in Miami, which you hosted, you organized, you orchestrated. That was eye opening to me because I'd been to Miami, but not seen Miami in that light. And you didn't just bring Miami, you brought all of African diaspora from all corners. So you may want to talk just a little bit about why did you initiate that idea about Global African Symposium in Miami?
Thank you so much for that. And we were glad that you were able to join us. Global Africa refers to the interconnectedness of Africa with its diaspora and the global community that is now shaping the economic, the cultural, and political influence of Africans beyond its borders.
Yes.
For those who do not know, the precursor to Global Africa was Pan-Africanism, which
Mm.
was founded by Marcus Garvey and his cohorts.
Mhm.
And gradually, that was in the 1920s.
Yes.
Gradually, around the 80s, we saw a new impetus, which we call the Africa Renaissance,
Mhm.
which was again spearheaded by Thabo
Mbeki.
Mbeki and the creation of new from the Organization of Africa Unity to Africa Union.
Yes.
That has now shifted to Global Africa, which
Mm.
is basically that, as you know, the African Union gave the sixth domain
Mhm.
for the Africa diaspora to be part of the Africa Union.
Mhm.
So that is the impetus for
Mm.
Global Africa,
Mm.
and that has been perpetuated and advanced by Afri Exim Bank. And
Mm.
so Our goal was to help make sure that we got the word out
Mm-hmm.
about what Global Africa was all about, because this is the new vision that
Mm-hmm.
represents a unified effort to position Africa and its diaspora as
Yes.
key players in the global economy. Africa
Mm.
is always marginalized.
Yes.
Nobody thinks of Africa when it comes to the global economy. And yet, many of the minerals and as you know, comes
Yeah.
from Africa. So our job, this new impetus, is to redefine Pan-Africanism and also to accentuate
Mm-hmm.
the new rebirth, renaissance of Africa, now moving into the fact that, according to our brother, um, the musician Peter Tosh,
Mm-hmm.
we really don't care where you come from, as long as you are a black man, you are an African. So we want to now identify, regardless of where you are in the globe,
Yeah.
black Cuban, black Brazilian, black
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean, we are all
Argentina. Yeah.
now the
Yes.
global Africa family. That's what the concept of Africa. So what
Mm-hmm.
we did in June last year was to ignite that forum as
Mm-hmm.
a precursor to
Mm.
the Global Africa movement that happened in Grenada. So
Right.
Afri-Exim Bank started advancing Global Africa since 2002.
Mm-hmm.
The very first inaugural trade and investment forum was in Bridgetown, Barbados.
Mm.
The second one was in 2003 in Georgetown, Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting involved during the third edition
Mm.
in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in 2024,
Yes.
and also the one that we just did in Grenada. I was there in
Mm.
2025, that just happened in July. So the
Mm.
June event was a precursor to letting everybody know that, hey, there's
Mm.
this new impetus that is called Global Africa, and whether you're African American,
Mm-hmm.
Africa, wherever you are, so long as you have life. This is now the global family to realign,
Mm.
uh, the diaspora to a common focus
Mm.
on doing work that would benefit the African community.
That's observing it was clearly very well attended by African diaspora from all countries that you don't hear of every day, but
Yes.
they have African roots. The Granadas, the Caribbeans, and so on and so forth. So that was the biggest thing that I took away from there. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the first time where I see someone make a real effort not to pigeonhole Africa, but to bring all of its descendants in all their shapes and sizes and colors together in one room. That was very inspiring. So thank you so much for helping to put that together. Now, if we look into the future, we realize that the new African has a new role to play,
Mm.
and you are not shy about the role that the global African of today should play. It appears you have a vision for that, and that vision is very clear. Could you articulate some of that? Because we have viewers from Asia, Singapore, where I used to work. We have viewers from Middle East, where I work sometimes. And we have viewers from Americans, from the Americas, that is North and South, and yes, from the motherland. So, what is the vision that you have for the global African, especially in the context of what you are beginning to mold and put together?
That is so kind of you, and that's an excellent question. So, let me take you back to a document that I laid my hands on a while back. It's called Agenda 2063, the
Okay.
Africa we want.
Mm,
When I read that document, it was an eye opener.
wow.
The African continent, as you know, is often described as the next frontier for global growth. So
Yes.
for me, I kept asking, what is this next frontier? What is so the African Union was able to articulate that
Mm,
in the Agenda 2063 that says the Africa we want.
mm,
We, the Africans, are the ones that will help build that
yeah.
continent.
Yes.
Foreigners are not going to help us to construct it. So just like you alluded to, I'm very, very big on the youth. I'm very, very big, and I have a clear vision of if we galvanize all of the resources and talents that we have,
Mhm.
Africa truly is the next frontier. So
Yes.
um, when I read the blueprint of the Africa we want, which is really the continental framework for social economic transformation that lies in the heart of Africa, it
Mhm.
is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming the continent into a global powerhouse of the future. It
Yes.
is also a strategic framework that aims to deliver on the goals of inclusivity and
Mhm.
sustainability, and a manifestation that the Pan African drive for unity, self determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity. And we're
Mm.
beginning to see that in bits and pieces because everything is now being articulated.
Yes.
Take examples, of course, you know this better than I do. Look at what's going on in Burkina Faso.
Yes.
Look at what's going on in Senegal.
Yes.
Look at the powerful speech of the Ghanaian president at the United Nations.
Yes.
So Africa is now beginning to articulate its own vision that this is what we want in Africa. We
Yeah.
don't want you to dictate for us anymore what we want in Africa.
That's right.
This new leadership paradigm is going to translate into the
Mm.
youth who always of course fed up with you were you were telling me about the cheetah and the
Hippos. Yeah.
so exactly. So now the cheetahs are going to say, well, this is an example of what we need. So
Yes.
to translate that into have a powerful political terrain
Mm.
based on utilizing Africa's own economic power to
Mm.
raise the level of poverty, to provide education, and to
Mhm.
make sure that the next century truly belongs to Africa. So I'm always hopeful, I'm always excited, and I think that indeed, if we are serious enough,
Mhm.
Africa can truly uh,
Right.
Africa can truly rise. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. That is very helpful because my excitement too, I can feel that the air we breathe is a little different from 10, 20 years ago. When I
Yeah.
first left the continent and went to Asia, then come work in America, it was still backward at that moment, but it started changing in the last 10 years. And the
Mhm.
momentum, the energy that I feel now, the assertiveness, the way that even the younger people are able to articulate what they feel and see and they want to create is different. So, riding on that, you have managed some trade missions, both from the Americas to the motherland to Africa. And from Africa, you've also facilitated people coming to America. Where are the big flows? Where are you seeing the excitement for this vision for people who want to embrace this? Is it mostly amongst the Caribbeans? Is it mostly people in the motherland, in the West Coast, in the East Coast of Africa, the Southern, the Northern, the Maghreb? Where do you see the major flows happening? Where the continental flows?
Again, a very excellent question. No wonder you are the expert. You know, you just know the right buttons to hit and everything.
Thank you, sir. I'll learn
For
from
your
you.
for purposes of your audience, I'm now the division director for protocol and international affairs for Miami International Airport, a job that I started in 2019.
Mm.
Prior to that, I was an international trade specialist. So I have a vast background in economic development and international trade. And
Mm.
it's still something that, I have a great affinity for.
Yes.
Part of my job was to take trade missions from the United States to many African nations.
Mm.
And we also uh, receive reciprocal visits from African
Yeah.
nations as well. So, what is really the essence of trade missions? Trade missions is to introduce willing buyers and sellers for them to to do business.
Yes.
A byproduct what folks don't often think about is that the byproduct of a trade mission is tourism. So when you take folks to a country to do business, they will find time to go for a tour to the
Shopping.
safari
Yeah.
to do things. So it's the economic impact of a trade mission should
Yes.
never ever be
Yes.
underestimated.
Yes.
So to answer your question, I was so excited when in 2021 the Africa Continental Free Trade Area finally came into force. We're speaking about 55 nations,
Mhm.
close to 1.4 billion
Mm.
people, and more than 3.5 trillion in gross domestic product for that area.
Mhm.
So this is the largest trading bloc in the world in
Wow.
terms of the number of, it's bigger than the EU because of the number
That's right.
of countries. So
Yeah.
this is projected to create enormous opportunities for Africa, boost the African economy, and facilitate intra-African trade
Mhm.
possibilities. Because part of the problem has been the barriers between,
Yes.
an African should not need a visa to travel
Mhm.
from Cameroon to Benin or from
Yep.
Cameroon to
Yep.
Nigeria. So
Yep.
all of these barriers will be broken down.
Yeah.
The other thing that a lot of people may not be aware of is the African Single Air Transport Market, which is a flagship project of the African Union to
Wow.
initiate, yes, creating a single unified air transport market in Africa. Obviously, this is my aviation side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine, in those days, we were lucky. We used to have Air Afrique. I don't know how old you are, but
I know.
you
I
could
know. I know
just,
about Air Afrique. Yeah.
exactly. You could jump on Air Afrique from Paris. You land in Dakar. From Dakar, Air Afrique to Abidjan.
Mhm.
Abidjan to Lagos. Lagos to Libreville. Libreville to. So it was like Air Africa. It was like air
Yeah.
taxis.
Mhm.
And if you want to fly now from Lagos to Douala,
Yeah.
Lagos to Douala, the last time I checked, my friend was saying it's $1,000. Your neighbor, your neighboring, so it does not make sense. So this new imperative of the single Africa air transport market is to make sure that we promote liberalization of the civil aviation in
Mhm.
Africa, and it will serve as a catalyst for the continent's economic integrations
Mhm.
agenda.
Mm.
So, so trade missions help to facilitate bringing both sides together to
Mhm.
share best practices,
Mhm.
to introduce buyers and sellers. And so it has been very, very successful because as a byproduct of that, many African Americans or anybody who is particularly those who are going to Africa for the first time, I
Mhm.
can tell you they always go back a second time
Oh yeah.
because all of a sudden the wool is removed from their eyes. It's like, wow. Of course, there's a lot of apprehension before they go. Oh, in fact, I'll give you a story. We were planning a trade mission to Kenya several years ago, and the downfall of the Libyan head of state was happening in Libya.
Yes.
So many people called me to say, oh, I'm pulling out because, I said, first and foremost, it's like saying something is happening in Miami that
Yeah.
has nothing, you are going to New York. New York and
Exactly.
Miami is not the
Or San
same. So
Francisco.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, Libya is Libya. This is Kenya. Nothing will happen. So we have to shatter all those myths. We have to re-educate folks. And by the time they went and came back safely, of course, you always have to take the
Yeah.
safety of delegates seriously.
Yeah.
By the time we went and we came back within a year, many of them returned on their own to several African nations. So I always, always encourage trade missions. It's an opportunity to get that one-on-one feel. It's an opportunity for you to do your own research
Yes.
uh, to really get a taste of what it is, or, other than what you read about the continent from the
Very true.
internet. Yeah.
Very true, because I know friends in Asia who work in Africa and they keep going back. And even
Yeah.
those who have returned Every
Yeah.
now and then they go back. So if I meet someone now who wants to go, I say, let me warn you. If you go one time, you never stop going. So let me just give you, I just want to beware that Africa is contagious. Once you love it,
Yeah.
you can't stop loving it, because if you get in touch with the people on the ground, they are so kind, they're so hospitable, you will not stop going. So
In fact, I always tell my American friends that you guys are already late to the dance. The Europeans and the Asians are already there.
absolutely, they're
You're
already
late to
there.
this dance. Yeah.
They're already sitting around and patronizing and having fun, so much fun that some of them don't even want to return, seriously.
Yeah, of
And
course.
but for the purpose of those that travel back and forth on travel missions, it's fairly easy to say that traveling from America to Africa is easier. But what about African countries, delegates coming here to explore new markets? How easy are you seeing the market readiness in terms of getting visas and processing times, so that they're not seen like their baggage coming in? They're seen like these are business people with money, a lot of money they're coming to spend, and some are coming to find ways to export their produce here. So are they new trends in terms of improvement?
Well, you're so right, and that's particularly one of the huge challenge for African businessmen and women,
Mhm,
um, because they feel that, as you know, many African countries either have visa waivers or visa-free entry for many of the Western
countries.
nations, and unfortunately, that's not reciprocal for many Africans as well. So, uh, the cost of hotels, the cost of air flight, the cost of visas, and the processing time of visas, all of these are practical barriers to bilateral trade.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Nigeria is a country of 200 million people.
Mhm,
There are only two uh, diplomatic posts of the United States in Nigeria, the embassy in Abuja and the consulate in Lagos. So if you're not living in Abuja or Lagos, if you apply for a visa, you have to catch a local flight or drive all the way to those two, either of the
yeah,
locations. You have to stay in a hotel overnight to
yeah,
get your interview. And by the way, you and I know sometimes an event is happening in July
yeah.
and you apply for your visa, they will give you an interview in October after the event. The event is in July. Why would they want to interview you in October
Exactly.
when the event is over? So these are some of the challenges. But by and large, as you know, Africans love to travel. Africans make all the effort to, reach out. We are loving uh, people.
Mhm,
So at least those who are able to make it, they do come. We arrange those business to business matchmaking for
mhm,
them, and many come not just for the trade missions, but also for businesses, for expositions.
mhm,
I had a lady, Mrs. Agatha, who came from Cameroon when we had the World Travel and Tourism Expo last year,
mhm.
to come and promote tourism in Cameroon. And many people, I mean, we could not get people away from her stand. It was like, wow, you have all this in Limbe, Mount Cameroon, you have
Yes.
all these waterfalls, so we need to encourage folks like that,
Mhm,
to come and promote Africa, and we need to ensure that, there's more opportunities for many Africans. But as you know, that's at the federal level. We don't have impact on who is issued visas or not, but it's a huge challenge, and not just acquiring the visas, like I said, but the cost because
cost.
of the
Yeah.
exchange rates of
Yes.
many African nations. It's enormously expensive to get, a flight and visa cost and hotel cost
Because
and living
uh,
expenses while you are in the US.
yes, that is it continues to be a serious issue,
Yeah.
and I see the pain. And it almost looks like to travel is something for the elite. It shouldn't be. It should be that if a business guy with good intentions has a reason to travel, we should facilitate that. So maybe there's an area whereby if the global African becomes a consolidated front or becomes a stronger body, it should continue to advocate for that because it will open up more doors
Yeah.
and allow more free trade or more trade to manifest.
Absolutely, but let's also just make sure that we are fair on both sides. Number one, at the end of the day, every country has the right to admit whom they want to come into
Fair enough.
their shows.
Fair enough.
Number two, the individuals that apply, we don't know what's in their background that they are denied. So
That's
we
right.
have to be sure to be fair that yeah.
That's true. That's true. Given those limitations, where are you seeing where are the bright spots? Is it mostly in manufacturing of commodities? Is it in minerals? Is it in tourism? Is it in finance? Where are you seeing the bright spots from the continent in terms of outflows into the West?
All of the above. As the discovery of oil in Ghana,
Mhm,
the discovery of lithium in Nigeria,
mhm.
of course, cobalt in Gabon, in the Congo.
Mhm.
Uh, Mining is huge,
Yes.
and also we're beginning to see, particularly with the creativity of the creative industries. This
Yes.
you were speaking of, the cheetahs and the youth.
Yes.
They are doing fantastic job. I make sure that I tell friends that before Zelle, 10 years before Zelle was introduced to Americans,
Yes.
Africans could already use M-Pesa
Yeah.
to do, yeah. So the financial space, the creative
Mhm,
industries, and of course,
mhm.
uh, we will be remiss if we do not speak of the huge African export to the entire world in Afrobeat music,
Oh yes.
African fashion,
Yes.
African movies,
Yes.
um, and I dare add African cuisine. I
Yes.
traveled to go see a friend of mine, Mr. Ari Obenson in Louisiana. I mean,
Okay.
in St. Louis, excuse me,
Missouri. Yeah.
Missouri. Yes,
Yeah.
and he took me to an African restaurant
Yep.
in St. Louis,
Yep.
and it was not Africans that were inside. It was Americans.
Thank you. Thanks for
Uh,
saying that.
Savoring African food I mean, I was like, so, uh, uh, the, you go into any nightclub or any Zumba class or any radio
Yeah.
station,
Yep.
within the first 1 or 2 minutes,
Yeah.
it's, Afro.
Thank you.
So, so I think that the movie industry, the creative industry, the fashion
Mhm.
uh, industry, Africa is now really beginning to have a hold, a
Yes.
foothold on these aspects. So we have to really emphasize that this is in the last decade.
Mm.
This is the one huge thing that has really put Africa on the global map.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that because, of course, I'm nosy. I'm always reaching out to the good people to come here. I interviewed a Cameroonian lady, former database manager, who started a restaurant in Maryland,
Mhm.
and she says 70% of her customers are not
Yes,
African, and
absolutely. Yeah,
she's just doing what, like fufu.
yeah,
She said to me, "Fufu is trending."
yeah,
Before
yeah.
that, I didn't know that fufu was trending.
Yes,
And so
yes,
she says the people that are like vegetarians, they're not like, man, you guys got so many options. They're
yeah,
savoring African choices that we
yeah,
probably for long have taken for granted. So I
yes.
say that to indicate that I agree with you. Cuisine, African cuisine, African
Mhm,
fashion. I returned
mhm.
from Africon in Atlanta last month, where I learned that young African girls in the late 20s and early 30s, these are the cheetah generation, according to Enyite, they have their products on the Nordstroms of the world. They got products on the
Wow.
Saks and Fifth Avenue. They got products that these companies are telling them we need 2,000 pieces. We're not looking for just one. We're looking for 2,000. And these young ladies were all there from Senegal, from Cameroon, from Nigeria, and they were there just saying, "There's something happening out there. Is anyone else aware of this?" I was so moved by that because I genuinely think that we cannot overlook the youth engagement. I want us to talk about youth engagement. What can we do, or what can global Africans do to engage the youth? Because the first generation, they have a strong relationship with the continent. The second generation, if you're not careful, they may not be very, very linked to the motherland. And then if the third generation comes in and they lose ties, then we've lost. What can the global African do to have outreach to the youth?
That is very, very important. As you know, there are many, many projections that in the next decade or so, 40% of the population of Africa will be youths. So
Yes.
that is huge.
Yes.
Uh, Part of the challenges that we're having now is number one, many of the systems are not engaging youths. Many of the political
Yeah.
systems that are set up, they're not involving or
Mhm.
engaging youths, and youths are often dismissed because of obviously their youthfulness. But we have to remember that this generation, Z,
Mhm.
and Y,
Mhm.
they grew up in the digital age.
Yes.
So what took us, I mean, imagine, growing up, we had to learn the typewriter. We had
Right.
to, in those days, when I came to the US in the 80s, I had to call, the landline,
Yep.
and they have to go and stand in the general phone. I mean, now so these young men, these youth, they have the entire world at their fingertips.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
We need to recognize the power that
Yes.
they have in their hands
Yes.
and use that to help them in ways that we have to mentor them.
Yes.
One of the things that we really have to re examine in Africa is the issue of what is our customs and traditions.
Mm.
It's about time we let go of those traditions that are no, they're just meaningless. We
Mhm.
should not hold on to traditions just because c'est tradition.
Mhm.
It's our customs, and that is the one area that frustrates the youth very, very much.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
obviously, when you and I were growing up, you don't walk into a room full of elders. You sit down and you're eating and drinking and discussing with them because everybody have their place. But uh, you know, if if your house is if your house is burning down and the youth is the one who has the answer to put out the fire. You cannot say, go and sit down in the corner, you are a youth, So question is timely and your question is appropriate. We need to recognize
Mhm.
the youth of 50s and 60s is no
Mhm.
longer the same youth as these days. And we need to find ways to, number one, provide mentorship,
Mhm.
provide access, and let them have a seat at the table. I
Thank you.
don't know if you have read the Constitution of Kenya. I was
Mm.
so impressed. The Constitution of Kenya mandates that somebody who is handicapped must serve in the legislature, and
Mhm.
they also have a seat for the youth as well, must be
Mhm.
in the legislature. So
Wow.
things things like that is
Mhm.
what we should really, really encourage and advocate for, rather than every time the youths. Well, part of the problem too is the politicians, they know the weaknesses. These youths, they go to the universities, they graduate, and there are no jobs.
Mhm.
And we wonder why they are doing the kidnapping,
Yeah.
why they are doing drugs, because the politicians themselves are the ones that use them to fight their political battles.
Yes.
You know, we
Yes.
have to come to realize that we need to empower the youths to help them. They are all. If you look at the youth, the Ministry of Youth
Mhm.
of every country, their website will say, "Oh, the youths are our future. We need to invest in the youths. We need to empower the da 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 da." da."
It's
You
youth
know,
service.
And yes, joblessness, and we don't do anything. And then when they come out to the streets to, say what they have in their minds, we shoot them, we kill them. So it's about time we truly realize that you cannot sacrifice the lives of your next generation, and we need to do everything to empower them, to give them the tools
Mhm.
to uh, take on the mantle, because after us, they are our future leaders.
Yes, indeed. So within the context of the global African for next year, I know this is like just putting you on the spot. Do you see the possibility of carving out a small window for youth representation? I'm not a youth for sure because I'm already a member of AARP, but would you see a possibility to have a window for youth to participate? That means those in the 20s and 30s. If that's a yes, let us know because we can start to find some of them and connect them to you.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, one of the things we spoke about was we're moving the venue to a university campus,
Yes.
so that so that we make sure that the youths and the students and the future generation is there. We're also thinking of creating as well one of the sessions
Mhm.
that will be. In fact, they did that at the Global Africa. They brought Siakam, your brother Siakam from the
Cameron?
basketball player. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
Pascal Siakam was there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we think that for sure we have to have a panel
Mm.
that has the youth component. We have to.
I appreciate that because yesterday, what me and my wife witnessed, she's a smart, smart woman. We sat in with these young people in the 20s and 30s at Vibe Code Africa, initiated by a young lady here in Dallas. And we were in awe of how much they can mobilize themselves and how much economically they are forced to be reckoned with. And in terms of their ideas, in terms of the way they were able to put everything together. So I walked away saying
Absolutely.
to myself, I've been around the block, but I have respect for these young people. So we're beginning to wrap up here.
Okay.
Knowing how busy you are, I'm really grateful for this session. Now, we know that if you look into the diaspora, or even back home, you will realize there are some titans. You mentioned some names. Afrexim Bank, maybe it's an institution or an organization. Who are some of the other titans who are shaping the narrative, the new narrative of the new Africa? And I want you to drop maybe some names. You mentioned Afrexim Bank being at the front. Drop some names, either individuals or drop some names of organizations that people need to know and celebrate and listen to them because they're doing good work in the community.
Well, let me refrain from dropping names, because obviously then you either
Creates
going
a
to forget one or the other. But um, I have always believed in the power of agency or the power of association,
yes, sir.
because not one individual can
Yeah.
do it alone.
Yes.
There are a lot of organizations on both sides
Mhm.
who do bilateral work. So I don't want to minimize, uh, you know, just you and I sitting here, and people always ask me, what can I do about global Africa? I said, number one, it is a movement. It's not association that's asking you to pay dues to join. Uh, if you go to the office and you tell somebody about a positive story that has to do with Africa,
Mhm.
that's global Africa. If you go to an African restaurant to
Mm.
try out an African cuisine, or you go into the store to buy
Yes.
an African dress, you
Yes.
are contributing to
Thank
global Africa. When you travel to Africa, you are contributing to global Africa. So,
you.
so, so it's an amorphous feeling. I don't want people to
Okay.
think, "Oh, you're asking me to join." No, 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 no. Let us spread the. It's like spreading the gospel. You know. So,
Okay.
so let me refrain from saying, "Well, this organization or this
Thank you.
individual." Each is incumbent on each and every one of us.
Thank you.
Every time we do something little that
Thank you.
prepare. One thing I always encourage everybody, you know, it's about, well, that we know there are challenges in Africa, corruption,
Fair enough.
whatever. But
Mhm.
then I turn it around to say, and that's the very first question you asked me about, well, why global Africa? Why are we
Mhm.
doing this? There is nobody that's going to wake up to praise us.
Yeah.
So if we continue to perpetuate the negativity
Mhm.
on social media, da 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 da, listen, are there not places we go to hear that we get robbed?
Yeah.
Are there not places that we go to hear there is mass? And yet, despite the mass shootings and all, the
Yeah.
people still want to come here.
Yeah.
So let us not be the one to continue to perpetuate the negativity about Africa, because there
Thank
are good people and good places to go in Africa. So I I I, I advise everybody to clean out the garbage and to reinforce all of those things that everyone feels about Africa, to say, here is a piece of Africa that I like, and then sell that instead of denigrating the continent all the time through social media and bad mouthing the
you.
people of Africa. Because what happens often is we use, when I say I'm from Nigeria, oh, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, scam artist.
Mhm.
And I say you cannot use the uh, negativity of a few folks to paint the
Yeah.
entire
Thank you.
country or to
Thank
paint
you.
the entire
Yeah.
continent.
200
But
million.
then I turn around that to educate those individuals, to say Nigerians in the diaspora are the most educated immigrant group in the United States.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, I didn't know that. And by the way, Nigerians in Nigerians, Africans have Nigerians have the most number of professional athletes in the United States. All those names you cannot, many of those names that you cannot pronounce
Pronounce.
at the back of the jerseys. And
Yep.
I use my own home team, Miami Heat. The
Yeah.
2022 Miami Heat had 5 Nigerians that played in.
Wow.
There are only 15 players in the NBA per team.
Mm.
5 of them in 2022 were Nigerians.
From one
And
country.
I'm like, oh, I don't know that. So this notion that we use one negative thing to paint an entire nation
Yes.
or an entire continent, we have to educate the people by using our own counter narrative in a positive light.
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, I didn't see this coming, but you know, Chimamanda writes about the
Yep,
danger of one story.
yep, yep, yep.
And
I
yours
read.
sincerely here, I am an
Mhm,
advocate of the danger of no story. The
mhm.
purpose of the Story Warrior podcast is to amplify our stories. Because if you don't tell any story, then the world gets a chance to paint you in any way that they want to paint you. So there's a
Exactly,
danger of consuming one story, which is a Western story, but there's
exactly.
also a bigger danger when we
Yeah,
don't celebrate one another, which is why I really love the last point you make, that there are people that are doing work. That's not necessarily it's not, it's the most visible, but they're doing it quietly in the shadows. And we
yeah,
need to celebrate them, like
yeah,
correcting
yeah.
somebody with a misperception or misconception. That's important because you are rewriting, you are shaping the narrative and helping
Yeah,
people to say, oh my goodness, they got Miami Heat has 5 players
yeah,
from one team. Well,
exactly.
that's only
Like,
one
yeah,
team. Go look at the
yeah,
others.
exactly.
So
you know and I laugh. You're so right, and I'm so glad that you are a storyteller, because we also need to start revising our history books, because I
yes,
laugh when Mongo Park discovered River Niger. I'm like,
uh,
before Mongo Park was born, my ancestors were
they're
already
using exactly,
navigating river
exactly.
River Niger with their
Discover
canoes
where
and they're
discover.
fishing. So how can he be the one that is? Because he went there, he wrote
Yeah,
about it first. And so people assume that, I'm like, was there nobody in the
living in that
Niger
area,
Delta when he came? My ancestors were living there thousands of years before he had.
using
How
it.
can he discover River Niger?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, okay, there's this African saying that until the lion learns to tell its tale. The
Yeah,
tale of the hunt glorifies the hunter. So maybe
exactly.
we can end on that. But what are one or two or three engines of growth that would reach define who the future global African is? One or two or three engines of growth that you can see, based on your work, your exposure. These are the engines of growth. Is it aviation? Is it maritime? Is it, from your vantage point, which are the three that you think that are changing the narrative as we speak?
For sure, aviation, because more and more people now have the wherewithal to travel,
Oh,
and
yeah.
tourism for sure, the creative industries for sure. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much for making the time to come on today. If you have
Nice
any
seeing
last
you,
word,
Ray.
we are more than happy to have it, but we can actually close here,
Thank
and
you.
we'll just take a few minutes for it to render, then you can leave the virtual studio. Do you have any last
Well,
words for people who listen to you, who have respect for what you do, and maybe they're potentially going to come to next year's Global African? Because I'm going to spare no effort to get people there, and I'm going to be there with my family, and I'm going to be there, hopefully
thank you.
working in any role that you assign me.
Well, thank you so much. And this has been finally, I'm glad that we did this. And
Pleasure.
we have to be the ones to propagate the
Yeah.
essence of Africa because nobody will do it for us. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really blessed and honored.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.